Right, okay then guys, welcome to the Eagerman's Hut. Hope you've all been well. I have to admit, I'm really happy with myself these days for not breaking my momentum with going to the gym. I've stayed consistent for quite a few days now, and I went today just before coming to the hut to record a video. I had a very good intense session, did deadlifting, did 3 reps of 147 kgs, which is pretty impressive because my body weight is around 65 to 66, and so that's, double my body weight, which is a very good indicator of strength. I did tell you guys in my previous videos that this year, if there's one thing that I'm gonna focus on the most, it's my gym. It's my fitness, it's my physique, because honestly, it's one of those things that I've been delaying a lot, that I've procrastinated a lot with, and I'm just fed up of it. If you're watching this video, we're still early into 2025, and you can be a totally different person by 31st of December 2025, by the end of this year. So put your head down, stop being a bitch and fucking focus, because that's what I'm going to do. And I had a really good idea of actually starting gym videos. So I sort of recording with my personal trainer, and sort of vlogging style, if you would, and I think those videos can do pretty well, and they will also help me document my fitness journey to you guys, which should hopefully inspire you. Anyway, in today's video, what I really want to talk about is how us young men can focus on becoming more masculine. Okay, and obviously I'm a 21-year-old man myself, so who the heck am I to really sit here and talk about becoming more masculine? And this is precisely why I'm going to be reacting to a video by Robert Greene, okay, where he gives advice to young men on becoming more masculine. Now, I have taken a bunch of notes in my diary, okay, which I will be sharing at the end. I've got about 8 ways to become a more masculine version of yourself, which is essentially a summary of this video that we're going to be reacting to. But I've also added examples from my personal life, and so you should find this video pretty helpful. Okay, whilst I was writing these notes down, I actually thought about how I wish I had known these things earlier, back when I was in school. Just would have had the upper hand, would have had the upper hand above everyone else. Nevertheless, I'm still young, and it's never too late to learn. So
these are actually very confusing times I believe, for young men. And the majority of my readers, to be honest with you, are young men, and I do a lot of consulting with them. So I understand the confusion that is going on, because traditional values and traditional ideals of masculinity are evaporating and very disconcerting. Yeah. And so to me, the most important thing here is to, first of all, define an icon.
But you see, traditional values they're not just evaporating, but they've also been framed as being very toxic and very negative, which is bad because, we got this far with those traditional values. How can we now call them toxic and bad? It just doesn't make any sense. And this is one of the reasons why it puts young men in a very confusing situation. Where the heck do we go?
Of what I would consider a virtuous masculine ideal for all of us to realize and think about. Because without a nice sense of an ideal, then we're kind of lost at sea. We don't really know where we're heading, what we want to achieve, or what we want to aim for in life. And so when I think of masculinity, or I think it means to be a man, I think in terms of, it's very weird, but I have an image of my mind of a particular Hollywood actor from the 30s and 40s. I know that sounds cliched, but let me explain it to you for a minute. His name was Gary Cooper. Now it happened he was extremely handsome, but the ideal, for so long, he kind of embodied this particular ideal. And what this ideal was, he was very soft-spoken. He didn't talk a lot. He wasn't aggressive or pushy, but he knew who he was. He knew what he wanted. He knew what was right. He knew what was wrong, and he stood for it. And he didn't assert himself and tell everyone you're wrong, etc. But when he was pushed, he was extremely strong inside. He knew who he was. He was very balanced. Right. And if you're ever going to watch a movie, and maybe...
and there's this idea that in order to be a more masculine man, you have to have a deeper voice, and you have to walk around with your chest puffed out, and you have to be aggressive and assertive all the time, and actively try to dominate over the people, which is wrong. And that's precisely what's actually toxic about being a man, you know? Real masculinity is, it can be soft and it can be very subtle, you know? You can be the most softest speaking man in the room and yet still be the most masculine man. And there is an art to it, you know? And that's precisely what Robert Greene here is talking about.
You find old movies kind of stupid, but this is a great one that really illustrates it, and it's called High Noon, where he's
I'm definitely gonna watch this movie. For sure I will. And I'm not a movies guy. I don't have the patience to sit on my ass for 2 hours or 3 hours and watch a movie, but you know, when there are movies that have a lot to teach you, I have absolutely no problems with watching them. And some of those movies include The Godfather. You know, I've got Scarface on my list that I need to watch.
the sheriff of this town, and he has to take on all of these kind of evil bastards. Anyway, so to me, the idea is you have a sense of control of your nature, of who you are.
Right.
You know that you're not just about being aggressive. It's not just about picking fights and
Yeah,
going out
really
in the
isn't.
world and kind of hurting.
A lot of young guys in school tend to do that a lot, isn't it? Sort of picking fights on purpose to either impress the girls around there or just to be bossy. And honestly, if you're a young man who's in school and you're watching this video, there is no need for you to do that, because guess what? People can actually sense that you're insecure deep down, and that you're just acting like a man and acting masculine and tough. You're not really one, you know? I've experienced that in the past. I had people act like that to me and it would cringe me out. It was just, there was nothing tough about that, you know?
People or pushing them around. That's actually a sign of weakness. True inner strength is something that's quiet and that's calm, right? And so you don't feel the need to push people, to hurt people, to assert yourself, to show off, to show how people who show off how wealthy they are, how many fancy cars they have, are actually weak. They're actually insecure. They're actually
Let's try to
incredibly
speed this
immature.
up a little.
And I talk about in the laws of human nature that when you look at somebody who has very extreme qualities like bravado, like brashness, like bragging about how great they are, by bragging about how many women they've seduced, by bragging about their fancy cars,
Right.
they're actually really weak little tiny people inside.
Yeah.
They're trying to cover up
I
all
love the
their
expression he
weaknesses,
did there.
all their insecurities with bravado. But you, as a young man, you don't need any of that. When you see it, you're disgusted by it because it reveals weakness.
Right, and look, man, let's be honest, you know, I don't know about you, but I've definitely come across guys that would brag about how many girls they've had and how many times they've fucked, and it's just cringe. It's like, what exactly are you trying to prove here? Are you trying to sort of show off how bossy and manly you are? Because if you are, then it's not working, you know? That's really not the definition of masculinity. Like, it's cringe, it's what it is.
Somebody who is truly strong inside doesn't have to show off, doesn't have to talk, doesn't have to say a lot. That was the whole thing about Gary Cooper. He never talked. You know, I say in Laws of Power, always say less than necessary. Weak people have to talk.
I still haven't read his books. You know, he's got some amazing books on seduction, mastery, 48 Laws of Power, you know, daily laws. And it's definitely on my bucket list. I've got about 2 to 3 books to get through, and then I'm going to purchase all his books in bulk from Amazon, so that way I sort of have them on my table and I get through them one by one. And I have no doubts that they will take my knowledge onto a whole another level, you know?
Talk, I have to brag, I have to talk, all these things. If you're strong inside, you let your actions do the talking. You don't have to go on websites and show all
Okay, I feel like it's a little too fast, so I'm just going to bring it back to the normal speed. It's a little too
great
fast,
things,
isn't it?
that your cars, your money, your house. It speaks through your work, through the things that you have achieved, through the businesses that you have started,
right.
through the books that you have read. You don't have to
Right, it's like, essentially, in my opinion, it comes down to sort of genuinely focusing on becoming a competent young man, and through your competency is when your masculinity will sort of come out, and it will come out without you knowing. You know, the more competent you are, the more masculine you are, in a way.
do any talking. Your actions speak for themselves. So Let's have certain ideals, certain standards of what we consider masculinity or to be a strong man actually are, and to use that sort of guide us through life. So, one thing is, if you're strong inside, you can take criticism. People who have this kind of fake masculinity, by the moment you try and challenge them or talk to them or say that their ideas are stupid or maybe that they don't know what they're talking about, they get so insecure and they like lash out, they fight back and they yell. We see all these kind of trolls on the internet
Yeah,
doing
there's
that,
no need
right?
for that.
But if you are truly strong,
And I'm going to come to this idea of being able to handle criticism later once we're finished with this video, because I have a great example, okay, that I can relate to, literally just from a few days ago when I had a meeting with my boss. But yeah, it's like, well, you should be able to take criticism, because guess what? You can't look under your own nose, And so if you're being criticized, it's basically the world telling you, like, hey, there's a problem in you and fix it, And not all the times the criticism you receive will be genuine or it will be constructive, but even then, just shut up and take it with humility.
you can take criticism, you can take a mentor, you can take somebody coming into your life and saying, this is what you need to do, this is where you need to go, you're not doing it right, you need to follow this path instead of the one that you're on, right? The other thing is, a true man, to me, true masculinity, has deep respect for women, doesn't feel the need to insult them, to push them around, to dominate them. He respects them truly, and he honors them, and he almost has a kind of
Yeah.
chivalrous approach. I know all of this sounds very old-fashioned, but these were values.
And not just old fashioned, but very simple, and very straightforward. There's nothing technical about doing these things. It should even be somewhat of a common sense, to sort of do these things on a day-to-day basis to become a more masculine version of yourself. But the truth is, not many people are living by these values and these principles, and this is why it's so important for someone, at least like me, to reiterate them, to sort of go over them, so our memory gets refreshed, at least.
That came up through culture over hundreds and hundreds of years, and they have deep meaning and they have deep import. So having a chivalrous attitude towards women, to me, reveals inner
Chivalrous and
strength and
sophisticated attitude,
confidence, the kind of thing that I think women respond to. I don't think
100%.
women respond to men. They can smell that insecure man from a mile
They
away,
really,
and
really
it
can.
repulses them. They can also smell a man who has that kind of inner confidence, the kind of inner security, and it's deeply seductive and deeply attractive. So having a sense of an inner strength, of knowing who you are, of not feeling the need to brag, of
Right.
knowing that these are the virtues that signify strength
Humility,
in our
essentially.
culture,
Yeah.
they become sort of your daily guiding post. And when you catch yourself becoming all emotional and all panicky and all yelling and raging and angry, you step back and you go, I'm being weak. I'm falling below this kind of ideal that I think I should follow in my life.
Right, and the point about emotions he made there, right? To be a masculine man is not to reject your emotions, right? It's to actually acknowledge them, but not make any decisions based on them, especially when your emotions sort of come to you all of a sudden and try to trigger some sort of action. So, despite whatever it is that you're going through or however you're feeling, it's very important for you to stay rational all throughout, and that's one of the traits of masculinity.
When it comes to your career and to navigating the very difficult environment that we're all dealing with, a lot of young men think that the sign of success or of proving themselves is by making a lot of money early on and being able to show that. But to me, that isn't what the game is all about. The game is how to last. So when I look at sports and I look at athletes that I really admire and I think these are fantastic, I think of Michael Jordan, I think of Tom Brady, I think of LeBron James, I think of, God bless his soul, Kobe Bryant, people who lasted. They lasted for many years, right? They weren't just one-hit wonders. And so true success and true power in life
When it comes to athletes, one of the athletes I look up to is Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he is amazing. There's a picture of him sweeping the streets with a broom, and then there's one where he's holding the Ballon d'Or, and the comparison, and to see where he started and where he is now is just truly admirable. And a classic example of how a man can truly change his life with discipline and work ethic. Has always been inspiring, and that has always motivated me.
Go on for 10, 20, 30 years. You have a plan. You have a long-term career that you're aiming for.
Right, a
And your
purpose.
goal is not to like make a bunch of money and show off. It's to
Don't get me wrong, money plays a huge role. It plays a huge role, and I think it contributes to your survival, because in today's world, more money equals more resources, which increases your chances of survival. But don't make that the primary sort of goal of your life, to just make money. Have a goal that goes beyond that. It goes beyond just money, and focuses on providing value to people on a bigger level. And then you don't have to worry about money, because essentially the way to make money is to find something that would provide extreme value to others, and that they would be willing to pay you for it.
become a master in what you're doing, to understand your field, to be extremely creative and powerful in that, and then things will come to you. So to be truly powerful, you don't have to go out there and grab things. You don't have to go prove yourself.
Yeah.
All of it will come to you. People will come to you. Women will come to you. Job offers will come to you. Money will come to you. If you have this kind of inner strength,
Inner
this kind
strength,
of
yeah.
inner power that
The
I
law of
think is the
attraction,
ideal
isn't it?
for young men today in the world. It's very confusing right now because everything is so fluid, and we're all supposed to think that there's no such thing as masculinity anymore, that it's toxic. But real masculinity, that real kind of strength that I'm talking about, is not toxic at all. It is not out there to hurt people. It's not out there to dominate, to be aggressive, to push people around. It's all about an inner strength, an inner confidence that you radiate outward. And that's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful thing. And I advocate making that your ideal and making that the kind of the radar that guides you through these very difficult times.
So that's that. Now, obviously, I've taken a bunch of notes from this video on this piece of paper here that I would like to go through now, okay? And, part of the reason why I love reacting to these sort of videos is because, especially videos that are aimed at young men, is because, I'm a young man myself, and then for me to sort of sit in front of this camera and talk about how to be a better young man, it just wouldn't make any sense. Like, who the heck am I? And so I use these videos as a way to guide me, right? As a way to learn from them, and as a way to sort of express my opinion, whilst also they also help me stay consistent with uploading on YouTube, because, well, I can just react to a video, come up with points, express my opinion, and that's that. But anyway, so here's 8 things that I gathered from watching this video, okay? And this is basically a summary, okay? But I'm also going to I've added my my examples to it. Now, true inner strength is quiet and calm, okay? So here there is a quote that I came across, which was about leadership, but then you can also relate it to masculinity. And the quote goes something like this, okay? A weak leader compensates for his weakness by acting strong all the times, right? A strong leader is not afraid of showing his vulnerabilities, because he knows the power of playing on other people's strengths and weaknesses, and therefore that's where true strength comes from. And the way you can relate to this masculinity is, you don't need to go out there and put on a face of being a strong person, because people will be able to tell, right? People can feel that, they can sense it. Try to be okay with expressing or coming across as vulnerable at times. There's nothing wrong with that, because we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. The second way to become a more masculine young man is to quit extreme qualities like bragging, because it's a sign of insecurity. Us guys, sometimes we do end up going down the rabbit hole of bragging about the little things that we own or that we did in an attempt to impress people. People can sense that as well, and I've caught myself numerous times in those situations, and afterwards I would just be like, fuck, I just shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? But you learn. The third point is let your actions speak louder than words. Okay, now this is one of my favorite points, because if you truly take this point seriously, you're going to be forced to become more competent, a more competent version of yourself. And as I said earlier, true masculinity, in my opinion, is about competency. I think that the more competent you are as a man, the more masculine you tend to become. Do things like going to the gym, reading books, developing certain skills to become more, and that skill can be related to whatever, right? Your job, or the course that you're doing in university, or about self-improvement, or whatever it is. Number 4 is true strength is able to take criticism. Now, this is where I spoke about earlier. Okay, I have an example to give. Now, I had my PDR with my boss a few days ago, which is basically a performance development review. Okay, so your boss asks you a bunch of questions about your job and how you're finding it, and where you are in terms of progressing to the next level, and then he or she will also give you constructive feedback. I received a lot of constructive feedback, and I told my boss that I'm open to you coming up to me and pulling me by the ear and telling me that, hey, this is what's wrong with you, fix it. And the reason I'm okay with it is because I know in the long run this is what's going to help me get to that next position, or just become more better version of myself. So a lot of guys get offended when they receive criticism, and that needs to stop. Like, one of the most powerful ways of becoming a better version of yourself is to be able to handle criticism, because you can't look under your nose. You can't look under your own nose, only others can. And so when they tell you something about you that you don't like hearing in particular, just be quiet, stay humble, and take on the advice, because it's going to help you. I've developed a lot just by listening to other people give me feedback, and I've also presented myself in a way that would show them or tell them that, hey, I'm open to this idea of you giving me feedback. Number 5 is true masculinity has respect for women. Now, my best friend Nick, he's probably going to be laughing when he hears this, because me and him, we're objectifying women all the time, and we're making very misogynistic jokes. But that's just what two friends do. That's just us two bantering and having fun. Deep down, we both have huge respect for women. He has a girlfriend whom, he's absolutely in love with, and whom he respects a lot. And I don't have one yet, but I'm going on a date tomorrow, and so I will respect her too. Okay, I promise you, I will. Number 6 is raging and panicking and yelling and sort of becoming angry. That is a sign of weakness. I feel like truly masculine men have this ability to just stay calm no matter what is going on. They're like a body of still water in a pond, despite a fucking tornado around it, around them. And a perfect example for this is my general manager. I work in a hotel, and that hotel has a GM, and it's a big hotel, and he has a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders. But he stays calm, and he's very calculated, and he's very composed at all times. Does he get angry? Yes, he does, but he gets angry in a very subtle way. He's not screaming and shouting at your face. He just looks at you in your fucking eyes, and he tells you, right, that better be done. That needs to be done, or else I will lose my patience. And when it gets people going, it gets people going. So you don't need to be, panicking and yelling all the time. Stay calm, stay under composed, and think of logical ways to deal with the problem that you have in front of you. Number 7 is becoming a master of your craft. Okay, and this comes down to practice. Okay, if you've been lucky enough to find your craft, you just now need to get better at it. And there's a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. In that book, he basically talks about how in order to truly master a skill, you must practice it for 10,000 hours at least. Okay, and 10,000 hours would equate to 420 days, and 420 days would equate to approximately 12 to 13 months, which is basically a year, right? So in order for you to really get good at something, you have to be practicing that thing for at least a year. Okay, if I want to really get good at talking in front of this camera, I have to be doing it consistently for a year. If I want to build my physique to an elite level, or at least to a level where I'm impressed and others are impressed, I need to be going to the gym at least 4 or 5 times a week for a whole year for me to get to that stage, or whatever skill it is that I'm developing. I need to be sort of putting in the effort, staying disciplined. Number 8 is don't force anything. Have inner strength and you will attract. Okay, my friend Nick has a great saying. He says, if you force a fart, it's going to be shit. And as stupid and funny as it might sound, it's true. If you force a fart, it's going to turn out to be shit. Authenticity is very important in this rule here, or in this point, right? Because why are you forcing something that doesn't authentically come to you? Don't try to put on a face, or don't try to act in a certain way, or don't try to be like someone. 4 or 5 years ago, when I actually discovered that I wanted to be an entrepreneur ages ago, right? But I was lost at the beginning. I was like, okay, I want to become an entrepreneur. I don't know how I'm going to do it though. And look, here I am sitting in front of this camera. I've found a track, and the train is on it, and it just needs to now catch speed. So find out what it is that you want to do in your life. Okay, stay true to yourself. Don't worry too much, even if you don't know how to go about doing that thing, because as long as you focus on yourself, you will find your path. You will find it, So that's about it, really. And the only thing I can say on this matter of becoming a more masculine young man is that it's about ultimately becoming more competent. And I recorded a video. In fact, my previous video is about how this domino effect can change your life as a man. And in this video, I discuss how if you develop the courage to push just that one domino, the next thing you know is you've got 1,000 other dominoes falling down. And it's like, just pick one thing, right? If you're a young man and you feel lost in your life, just pick one thing, right? Start going to the gym. Just start going to the gym and don't think about anything else. And that on its own, after 3 months, 8 months, a year, 15 months, it's going to drastically change your life, right? Because the more you go to the gym, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the more capable you start to feel. The more capable you start to feel, the better you start to perform at work, right? The more you perform at work, you're more susceptible to getting promotion. The higher you rank in the hierarchy, the more women find you impressive. The more women find you impressive, the more you're likely to marry one and settle down. And the more that is likely to happen, the more that sort of happens, the more you have a chances of having a family and having a kid and whatever. It's like, start going to the gym, start reading books, right? Reading books is another great thing you can do as a young man, because it's honestly just going to expand your vocabulary, which is going to make you more articulate in your speech, and it's going to give you confidence in your ability to speak about a certain topic or a certain, sort of matter or whatever it is. So here are some ways to become a more masculine version of yourself, okay? Practice these day in, day out. Pick one thing that you can really focus on and get good at. And I will see you in the next one. My camera's on 5% as well, so it's gonna die sometime soon if I don't stop. Anyway, take care, guys, and I hope you found this video valuable, okay?